Hi, in this tutorial, we're going to consider a science paper 2, and that categorically should be understood as chemistry. We're also going to place our focus using a 2021 paper 2 internal exam. And if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, kindly hit on the subscribe button in order to get notified when next I post a new video. And since this is an examination month where I will get to write science paper 1 on the 31st, this at least can add on to the list of the things you can be able to use in order to create an advantage in an exam. The question says, the following diagram shows the changes of state in 3 states of matter. This probably is a grade 10 topic that we need to understand. And we have, that is solid, we have liquids, and then we have gas. And then there are processes such as A, B, as well as C. And when you talk about that is A, we're going to find that it is coming from liquids going into gas. And when you talk about process B, we're trying to talk about a liquid turning into a solid. Very good examples of these states of matter we can be able to give as an example is that on the liquid part, we can talk about water. On the solid part, we can talk about ice or wood. On the gas, we can talk about either vapor or any other type of a gas. A, describe the arrangement of particles in 1, solids. Under an exam standard based on 3 states of matter, you can either be asked to state the arrangement or the movement of particles in different states of matter. When you talk about a solid, we're going to find that particles in a solid are closely packed due to strong intermolecular forces of attraction. In the sense that if this is a box representing particles in a solid, we're going to find that they are going to be in this way, which is going to show that there won't be any space for the particles in a solid to be able to conduct movement. As a result, particles in a solid do not move, but vibrate in their fixed positions. So here on the solids, we're going to say particles in a solid are closely packed. So I'm going to say particles in a solid are closely packed. And when we talk about a liquid, we're going to find that inside of a liquid there are weaker forces of attraction, and as a result, particles in a liquid are slightly spaced. If this is an example of a box showing the arrangement of particles in a liquid, our expectations are that it could be displayed in this way. And when we look at this, we're going to find that there are many spaces that we can see here, thereby allowing a smaller type of movement such that particles in a liquid are able to slide past one another, provided there was a question that would possibly be able to state clearly or request that we talk about the movement. In as much as the question you're trying to talk about is about the arrangement, you are going to say particles in a liquid are slightly spaced. So I'm going to say particles in a liquid or slightly spaced. Slightly spaced. And then moving on to B, states the name of the change of state labeled A as well as B. Very, very important. Like I said, let's assume this is water and that this is ice. And process B says we're moving from liquids to solid, which means for a liquid to move or to change into a solid, it means it is cooling down. The process is called freezing. It is also known as solidification. So when you talk about process B, it is freezing, or rather, we can say solidification. When you talk about A, we're trying to talk about a liquid turning into a gas. This necessarily depends on the surface or where this kind of the process is really occurring from. And as a result, water turning into vapor can be promoted by a process called boiling. At the same time, water turning into a gas can be called evaporation. And lastly, we can also term this as liquid into a gas. It can also be called vaporization. So we can either talk about boiling, evaporation, or vaporization. So on A, we're going to talk about evaporation. And on B, I said we're simply going to talk about a liquid solidifying into becoming, that is, a solid, thereby being able to freeze. So I'm going to say the process here is freezing. Then C, which change of state, A or B, is an exothermic process? Explain your answer. There are two types of reactions when it comes to application of heat under chemistry, and there is a reaction called endothermic and a reaction called exothermic. When we talk about an endothermic reaction, it is a reaction or a process in which heat is absorbed from the surrounding. In the sense that when we talk about liquids turning into a gas, we're trying to talk about this being endothermic for the process that this liquid will obtain heat from the surrounding or anywhere where heat is going to be applied for it to undergo a gaseous state. And when we talk about a liquid turning into a solid, we're talking about a liquid having normal temperature and losing that temperature as it cools down, thereby releasing heat to the environment. So when we talk about liquids to solid, this is exothermic in the sense that the liquid will cool down in order to undergo a change of state, and liquids into a gas is endothermic in as much as this liquid is going to gain temperature from the source of heat, thereby being liable to undergo a change. So between A and B, which one is exothermic? So I'm going to say the change of state is B. And an explanatory statement we are going to lay down is that the liquid will cool down as it changes into a solid. So I'm going to say this is because the liquids will cool down and lose heat to change its state. So I'm going to say this is because the liquids will cool down and lose heat to change its state. A very good example is water that can be placed in a refrigerator. Thereby, it will be able to undergo the loss of heat in order to allow the molecules of water to freeze off and thereby becoming ice. So I'm saying this is because the liquid will lose heat in order to cool down and change its state. Vice versa, we can say this is because the liquid will cool down and lose heat to allow a change of state in order to occur. These are to mention, but answers to the 2021 paper 2 internal exam question B1. And ensure at the same time you grab a paper and relate the same very information in order to really create self-reliance out of the preparation that will be needed and at least adequate in order to help you prepare adequately for an exam. This has been your tutor, Mr. Sensor from Sensor Academy School of Tuitions. Make sure you click on the subscribe button in order to invite other exam devotees to find the same video very much beneficial. Till in the next video, for now, it's a very goodbye.